Emily Carter had always been the kind of woman who found joy in small things: a warm cup of coffee, a quiet evening walk, or the sound of her husband's keys jingling at the door. But lately, even those small joys felt distant. Daniel, her husband of 8 years, had fallen into a routine of long work hours and constant deadlines. He left early, returned late, and carried the stress of the whole world on his tired shoulders. Emily watched him with growing concern, wondering how much of their life he was missing without even noticing it. His birthday was coming up in a week, and for the first time since she had known him, Daniel didn't seem to care. When she asked him what he wanted to do, he shrugged. "Maybe just dinner at home," he said, already scrolling through emails. There was no excitement in his voice, no spark in his eyes, and that small moment his lack of interest broke Emily's heart more than she wanted to admit. Emily wanted to bring life back into him, even if only for a day. She wanted him to feel appreciated, seen, and loved. She knew he wasn't unhappy with her. He was simply worn out by work, pressure, and expectations. Still, she felt a growing fear that the distance between them would become permanent if she didn't try to bridge it. She spent an evening flipping through old photo albums. Their wedding photos, their first apartment, their first road trip through Oregon. In those pictures, Daniel's smile was bright, natural, unburdened. Emily touched the pages gently, asking herself when things had changed. She didn't blame him. Life had gotten heavier. Responsibilities had grown, and with them, the weight on their marriage. But maybe, she thought, if she brought back a piece of their past, she could remind him of everything they once shared. The idea came unexpectedly. Her friend Jenna had mentioned something offhand during coffee earlier that week, saying you should hire a professional photographer one day. Capture new memories before life gets too busy. Emily had laughed then. But now, flipping through old photos, the thought returned with surprising clarity. A photo shoot. Something simple but meaningful. Something that would bring them together for a moment that wasn't rushed or tired. Something that would let Daniel see himself through her eyes again. She searched online, scanning through websites and portfolios, until one profile stopped her. His name was Ethan Ward, a well-known photographer from Seattle who specialized in emotional storytelling. His photos weren't posed or stiff. They captured natural feelings, joy, love, quiet moments that usually passed unnoticed. People described him as warm, patient, and deeply understanding of the stories behind people's faces. Emily felt an unexpected sense of trust as she browsed through his work. Something about the way he captured couples made her feel hopeful. She sent him a message. She expected him to be booked for weeks, but to her surprise, he replied within an hour. "Hi, Emily. Thank you for reaching out. I'd be happy to help. Let's create something meaningful for your husband's birthday." His message was professional, yet kind, and something inside her relaxed. They set up a meeting at a small cafe near Pike Place Market the next afternoon when Emily walked in. Ethan recognized her instantly. He stood to greet her, offering a sincere smile that made her feel oddly comfortable. He looked to be in his mid-30s, with soft brown hair, a neatly trimmed beard, and gentle eyes that suggested he listened more than he spoke. "Tell me what you have in mind," he said as they sat down. Emily explained everything: Daniel's exhaustion, their fading spark, her desire to give him something heartfelt. She felt embarrassed admitting how disconnected they had become, but Ethan never looked judgmental. Instead, he nodded thoughtfully, taking in every word. "I understand," he said finally. "Sometimes people just need a moment to breathe and remember who they are. A photo shoot can help do that. Not because of the pictures, but because of the time they spend reconnecting during it." Emily felt a lump in her throat. She didn't expect him to understand so quickly or so deeply. They discussed location ideas. Daniel loved nature, so she suggested a lakeside park just outside the city. Ethan agreed. They talked about lighting, timing, and atmosphere. Then he asked a question she didn't expect. "What do you want Daniel to feel when he looks at the photos?" Emily paused. It was such a simple question, yet it went deeper than anything she had considered. I want him to feel loved," she said softly. "And I want him to remember that we're still us." Ethan offered a warm smile. "Then that's what we'll create." Over the next few days, Emily prepared everything with quiet excitement. She arranged Daniel's favorite snacks, chose outfits they both looked comfortable in, and packed a small playlist of songs from their earlier years. It felt good to plan something meaningful again. It reminded her that she still loved him in all the ways she always had. But something else began to happen. Something she didn't expect. Every time Ethan texted her with a detail or a suggestion, she felt a small flutter of nervousness. Not attraction, not anything inappropriate, but a strange sense of being noticed. Ethan spoke to her gently, respectfully, and with a kind of attention she had not felt from Daniel in months. Emily felt guilty for even noticing it. She loved her husband. She didn't want anything else. But feeling seen, even for a moment, made her aware of how invisible she had begun to feel. She pushed the thought away. This wasn't about her. This was for Daniel. The night before the photo shoot, Seattle's weather changed. Dark clouds rolled in, heavy and full of rain. By the next morning, the park plan was impossible. Emily felt her heart sink as she looked out the window at the sheets of rain hitting the glass. She called Ethan in a panic. "I'm so sorry. The whole plan is ruined." Ethan's voice remained calm. "It's okay, Emily. Rain doesn't ruin moments. We can create something beautiful indoors. I'll bring my equipment." Emily felt relief wash over her when Daniel came home that evening. Exhausted and unaware of the surprise waiting inside, Emily felt her heart pounding. She had set up the living room with soft string lights, framed photos from their past, and a cozy atmosphere that felt like stepping into a memory. Daniel walked in, stopped, and stared. "Emily, what's all this?" Before she could explain, Ethan stepped out from behind the camera equipment, offering a polite smile. "Happy birthday, Daniel. Emily planned a photo shoot for you." Daniel looked confused, almost overwhelmed. His eyes softened as he looked at her, but he still seemed unsure. "You did all this?" Emily nodded. "You've been working so hard. I just wanted to give you something special." Daniel didn't say anything at first. Not out of anger, he simply didn't know how to react. His life had been full of stress, not surprises, and certainly not gentle ones. Ethan began setting up, speaking in a warm tone that slowly eased Daniel's tension. He guided them through simple poses, nothing dramatic, just natural moments. Daniel placing his arm around Emily, Emily brushing his shoulder. Daniel looking at her with cautious fondness, like he was rediscovering her. Emily watched Ethan work and felt grateful. He created a peaceful environment, one where Daniel didn't feel pressured or self-conscious. Instead, he seemed to relax. Little by little, then something quietly changed. During one moment, Ethan asked Daniel to look at Emily as if he were seeing her the way he used to be for the stress. Before the distance, Daniel turned to her. His eyes softened. Emily felt something warm and familiar spark between them. Ethan clicked the camera once. Just once. And in that click, Emily sensed something deep and important had been captured. Something neither of them had expected. The moment ended quickly, but its weight lingered in the room, gentle, emotional, and quietly powerful. And as the session went on, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that somehow, this birthday surprise wasn't just for Daniel. It was for both of them. The photo shoot that Emily had planned for Daniel's birthday had started quietly, almost cautiously. The first few minutes were awkward. Daniel wasn't used to being the center of attention, and Emily, though excited, was nervous too. She had hoped this surprise would remind him of their love, their connection, the moments they once shared without thinking. But she didn't know if he would respond. She could only hope. Ethan, the photographer, moved calmly, guiding them without pressure. His presence was gentle, professional, and unobtrusive, allowing Emily and Daniel to exist in the space he had created rather than forcing them into poses. He suggested small actions, a hand on a shoulder, a shared glance, a quiet smile. And slowly, Daniel began to relax. His shoulders, tense all day, softened. His eyes, tired from long work hours, began to focus on Emily in a way she hadn't seen in months. As the session continued, Emily noticed the subtle changes in Daniel. His laughter returned soft, hesitant at first, when she playfully corrected his pose. His hand brushed against hers and he didn't pull away. In fact, he lingered, as if remembering that simple human contact was something he had missed more than he realized. Emily's heart swelled. She had wanted him to feel appreciated. But watching him rediscover joy, even in small ways, was more powerful than she could have imagined. Ethan remained quiet for the most part, clicking his camera at moments that were real rather than staged. He encouraged conversation, telling them to share memories or jokes while he photographed them. At one point, he suggested they talk about their favorite trip together. Daniel's eyes lit up slightly, and Emily smiled as he recounted a funny story from their road trip through Oregon. His laugh was full this time, not distracted or hurried. And Emily felt herself letting go of months of worry and stress. The photographer then suggested a simple idea: to look at each other as if no one else existed. Emily hesitated for a moment, feeling a surge of emotion she couldn't place. Daniel met her gaze, and the room seemed to shrink until it was just the two of them. In that instant, Daniel's exhaustion and stress fell away. Emily saw him as he truly was: vulnerable, kind, and loving. She realized how much she had missed that quiet intimacy, the unspoken understanding between them. Daniel, in turn, seemed to notice her in a new light, the same light that had drawn him to her years ago. It was subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but undeniable. When Ethan clicked his camera, he captured more than a photograph. He captured a moment of truth, a quiet, emotional honesty that neither Emily nor Daniel had realized they were longing for. Daniel's hand lingered on hers, a touch that conveyed years of unspoken feelings. Emily leaned closer, resting her head against his shoulder, and he instinctively wrapped an arm around her. It was a gesture that spoke volumes without a single word. The camera captured their connection, but in that instant, they were fully present with each other. The air in the room shifted. There was a tenderness between them that hadn't been there for months. Daniel's eyes softened, filled with a mix of regret and gratitude. He saw the effort Emily had put into this surprise, the thoughtfulness, the love. And he realized how far they had drifted, not out of choice, but because life had been too busy, too demanding. He felt a deep appreciation for her patience, and for her determination to remind him of what truly mattered. Emily, too, felt the weight of the moment. She had hoped for a joyful reaction, but what she hadn't expected was the depth of emotion she now experienced. Watching Daniel open up, even in subtle ways, made her feel seen as well. For so long she had carried the quiet weight of worry and longing alone. Now, with him looking at her with genuine care and attention, she felt relief, connection, and love returning to the space between them. Ethan, sensing the emotional gravity of the moment, stepped back slightly, giving them room. He continued to photograph discreetly, capturing their interactions without interrupting the intimacy they were rediscovering. He understood that the photographs were important, yes, but the real magic was in the moments themselves, the way Emily's hand fit in Daniel's, the way they exchanged smiles and gentle glances, the way they allowed themselves to laugh and breathe together after months of tension. At one point, Daniel reached for Emily's hand and held it longer than necessary, his thumb brushing over hers. Emily's heart raced, not with shock, but with warmth and recognition. She had forgotten how much comfort could be found in such a simple touch. They sat down together on the couch, and Daniel rested his forehead lightly against hers. No words were needed. The silence spoke of understanding, forgiveness, and rekindled love. They had found each other again in a space created not just by lights and cameras, but by intention and care. Ethan encouraged a few more poses, but the two of them no longer needed instruction. They moved naturally, interacting as they would on a quiet evening at home, laughing at small mistakes, leaning into one another when the mood turned soft and reflective. Daniel shared stories of work frustrations, and Emily listened with empathy. She laughed at his jokes, and he smiled in response, appreciating her presence in ways he hadn't shown in months. Every photograph Ethan captured told a story of rediscovery, of two people reconnecting after life had pulled them apart. As the session drew to a close, Ethan showed them a few of the images on his camera. Emily couldn't help but tear up at the sight of Daniel looking at her with love and admiration. His exhaustion replaced by a gentle joy. Daniel, too, was moved. He realized that this surprise had not just been about taking pictures. It had been about creating space to reconnect, to remember why they fell in love, and to acknowledge that even after years together, their relationship still mattered. The final photograph Ethan captured was the one that would remain etched in their memories forever. Emily resting her head against Daniel's chest, Daniel looking at her with tenderness and awe. It was simple, yet profoundly emotional. It represented not just their love, but the commitment to nurture it even through hard times. In that single frame, they saw themselves the real, imperfect, enduring version of us that sometimes got lost in the chaos of life. After Ethan packed up his equipment, he handed them a small preview of the photographs. "This is just the beginning," he said softly. "The rest will tell the story even more beautifully." He sensed that something had shifted between them, that this birthday surprise had accomplished more than Emily had hoped. Not only had she given Daniel a meaningful gift, but she had reminded both of them of the value of presence, attention, and intention in their relationship. Once Ethan left, the couple remained on the couch, holding each other, wrapped in a quiet intimacy. Daniel whispered a heartfelt thank you, and Emily responded with tears of relief and joy. For the first time in months, they allowed themselves to truly connect, not distracted by work, obligations, or the outside world. The spark they had feared lost was rekindled, not in grand gestures, but in small, genuine moments that mattered more than anything else. As the night progressed, they talked, laughed, and reminisced. Daniel admitted how much he had missed these moments, and Emily shared how hard she had tried to keep their connection alive. They promised each other, silently and openly, that they would make more time for these small, meaningful interactions. The photographs were more than just images, they were a reminder, a testament to the love they shared and the effort required to keep it alive in the following days. The photographs continued to affect them in subtle ways. Each time Daniel looked at the images, he remembered the warmth of Emily's hand, the softness of her smile, and the comfort of simply being with her. Emily, too, found reassurance in the images, knowing that even when life became difficult, they could create moments of joy and intimacy. The experience had strengthened their bond, reminding them that love was not just about feelings, but about attention, effort, and the willingness to be present for one another. By the end of the birthday surprise, Emily realized something important. The gift had not been about the photographs themselves, but about the space they had created for connection. Ethan's professionalism had allowed them to open their hearts in a way they hadn't done in months. They had found each other again, quietly, gently, and meaningfully. And in doing so, they had discovered that love, even when tested by stress and distance, could be renewed with intention, care, and vulnerability. Daniel hugged Emily tightly, holding her longer than usual. He whispered words he had not spoken in months, promising to cherish and prioritize their relationship. Emily responded with equal sincerity, grateful that the effort she had put into this simple, thoughtful surprise had created a lasting impact. They felt renewed, connected, and more aware of each other's needs. It wasn't a perfect solution, but it was real, heartfelt, and lasting. That night, as they settled into bed, they both felt a sense of calm and hope. The spark was back, quietly glowing, waiting to grow stronger with time. Emily smiled, knowing that this birthday would be remembered not for gifts or celebrations, but for the intimate, emotional, and unforgettable reconnection they had experienced together. In the end, the surprise had worked in ways she could never have anticipated. Daniel's exhaustion had faded, replaced by appreciation and affection. Emily's worry had eased, replaced by relief and joy. and Ethan, the photographer.